I'm Mark McInturrf. I'm the principal and owner of McInturrf Architects. We do mostly high design, largely high-end residential contemporary architecture in and around Washington. And I've known Quality Window and Cliff, it's got to be 20 years. It's frightening to think about that, but I think it is that long. And I sort of feel like we've evolved together. In fact, maybe even involved with Weather Shield together, because I've seen their growth in their product line and all that sort of stuff sort of exponentially develop. Right. Yeah. Well, you're talking about two wells in a way. I mean, when you say what makes you go back to the well, there's two wells we're talking about here. Why do I use Weather Shield windows frequently? Not always, but frequently. And then when I use Weather Shield windows, why do I try as hard as I can for it to be Cliff who's providing them? The Weather Shield question is that they do almost everything I want a window company to do in terms of sizes and different types of windows and different materials and different options and claddings and so forth. I've probably used almost every major American window company and frequently come up against the fact that, well, these guys can do everything but that, or but this that I want to do. So that's one of the main reasons I use Weather Shield. When I'm talking about using a window brand, the person providing it, which in this case is Cliff and Quality Window and Door, as often as possible, I just want to work with somebody who really, really knows the product. You can buy windows from a lumberyard. You can buy windows from a retailer or something, but the person at the counter or the person on the phone who's talking to you about the windows doesn't know any more about those windows than they know about the toilets you can buy in the same place. I just want somebody who deals with windows. That's all. So we talk about the profile of the casement window as it sets next to the French door in this condition is going to be that. I know I can take that to the bank, and that's really important to me. I can't just be dealing with somebody who sort of knows the product. Well, the way the communication works, I guess, in our case, again, we might be slightly unique, Cliff and I. I mean, we go way back, and there are probably lots more recent people who maybe don't have as tight a relationship. I don't know. I mean, I can't speak to that. But Cliff tends to be my point of communication. So if I need a weather stripping replacement or question answered, or I want the factory to modify a detail, which they will do, I just go through Cliff. And then certainly I've dealt with lots of other people at Quality, but because of our long relationship, it tends to come essentially, the point man is Cliff. You did do one thing at my house, Cliff, and I don't know whether this was unique, but I think is it Bob's son who works for the firm? Yeah. He turned up at my house one day and did a full-on walk-around critique, and there's still notes on the wall that say shim, stuff like that. Do you do that with all jobs?
We do that with as many jobs as we possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that.
Nick. You can refer to him
as Nick. Okay. So, in one case recently, I was on a job site, and actually Nick turned up, and I said, so, what are you doing today? And he said, well, I'm going around looking at the installation and making notes on what they need to do. Because, it's not uncommon to deal with a contractor or a subcontractor who hasn't used that product and is maybe not paying total attention to all the installation specifications and so forth. So Nick was going around and literally making notes on the stickers that are on the windows, shim this side, level this, and I thought that was impressive because it basically means that they're kind of touching every window twice. Once, in the ordering and sending, and once in the kind of, there it is, how do we best manage the care of this product? It's telling people on site, because that's the last time it's going to be touched, what to do with it. Yeah. I mean, I think that the level of confidence that you have is really important, because basically, there are moments where we're signing off on something, where there's an order. It's been, we've designed a house. Cliff has put together an order, and the order comes back to us, and we're checking it against our drawings. If we don't catch something that's wrong, we own it. I mean, so suddenly I owned a really big window or whatever. And we don't want to do that, so I need the confidence that they've written the order the way our drawings are saying to do it, and then when that order comes to us, we check it again, but there's kind of a checking going around that prevents the issue, which is not uncommon, of windows arriving or something arriving on the building site and just tunk, not fitting. And that's a really big problem because windows take a long time to get, and they needed to be here now, and they are here now, and they don't fit, so we need to do it again. We lose a number of weeks. So, it's not only the kind of liability of signing off the thing, it's kind of keeping the process fluid. Well, we don't really hand it off. I mean, we check it too, but I will tell you, we check other window orders too, and they can be frightening. Or shop drawings of any sort. It's almost like sometimes people will make a shop drawing in a very cursory way just to throw it back to you so that your corrections become the drawing, right? So here, I'm going to do a bad job so you can redo it for me. We don't have time for that. We just don't. Well, first of all, in general, I would say the decision of what windows to use, the homeowner pays fairly little attention. They're going to want a good quality insulated glass, low E, and a certain level of performance, but they don't know whether to go here, here, or here, or why even I would choose one company over another. I mean, occasionally somebody will get interested in that, but in general not. So, what they're expecting us to do is choose the best window for their situation and get that process going. But they also want to know that if there's a problem, that it'll be fixed, that the quality and weather shield will stand behind the product, and the shipping and the getting it there and all the ordering and all that sort of stuff. And if there's a problem, it's just going to get solved as quickly as possible and come back. Well, I think from an architect's point of view, what we're looking for, to be frank, is comfort. Is not just the physical comfort of the building, but the comfort that the process is going to be well managed, and that somehow what we have placed on paper early on will be translated to a three-dimensional reality in a pretty seamless way, in an organized way that that you participate in, but moves in kind of a regular, predictable way and arrives on site, and there are no problems. Yeah, I mean, you don't form let's call it a 20-year relationship with somebody where there is not success. I mean I've got a phone book, or I can go on the internet and get lots of window companies. Lots of them want to sell windows to us and so forth. But what I'm looking for, aside from a good product, is a great track record of service, and really maybe for one of the main things I'm looking for, and I get from Cliff, is the knowledge of the product. Which is hard to overemphasize that. Most people think, oh, window's a window. No, it's 40 little pieces of wood and I don't know how many pieces of weather stripping and glass and so forth, and you want to know how all those are put together, because in some cases I'll modify that within the constraints of what the factory will do, and I've probably used in my career in 400 or 500 projects 60 different window companies or something, maybe 50, I don't know. I've never encountered anybody with as intimate a knowledge of the thing, this little tiny part. It's like your mechanic knowing, this little tiny part of the brake. That's different than the guy who sold you the car. Well, I think it goes back to what I've been talking about, which is I almost start with the knowledge of the product. Who's going to really know the product? You can cut out 90% of the competition, right away with that question, and then who's going to service the product, who's going to kind of sort of help you through the whole ordering and procurement process, and then ultimately who's going to service it at the end of the day, and also what products they're representing. This is not, these are weather shield windows. This is not some other, brand or some off-brand or something. So from the product to the service, all the way down to the knowledge, is why it's really in my comfort zone to stay here.